One of the few sources of free cars in GTA Online is the LS Car Meets Podium Car. In order to get this car, players will need to complete a daily challenge to race against other players. In this video, we'll cover the top 3 tuner vehicles to help you perform in said races, and ultimately grab that car. But first, let's talk about how the Podium Car works and why you want a tuner to begin with. Now, the Podium Car can be found at the LS Car Meet, which is located here on the map. And if you don't know what a Podium Car is, it's basically a free car that you can win every week. It doesn't cost you any money. All you have to do is complete the daily prize ride challenge that it issues you throughout the week. Now, in order to see what the current week's challenge is, you have to be in LS Car Meet, open up the interaction menu, go to LS Car Meet, Prize Ride Challenge, and then you'll see this week is place top 1 in 3 days in a row. That's one of the harder ones, but it's still very doable. And once you do that, you're able to claim the prize ride. Other examples of challenges would be to place top 4 in 4 days in a row, or top 3 in 3 days in a row. You can do these in any series race that the LS Car Meet has to offer. I usually talk to the race organizer right here and choose, you could do any of these series races, but I usually do street race since that's the most straightforward. These races usually have a default setting of tuner class, so that's why we're going to be focusing on tuners, because that's most likely going to be the class you'll be racing in. Alright, let's talk about the top 3 tuner cars now. These are rated based off of lap time, not necessarily top speed, because in a race, lap time is more practical. First up, we have the Calico GTF, rocking a top speed of 121.25 miles per hour with a lap time of 1 minute and 3.596 seconds. You could find this car purchasable at Southern San Andreas superautos.com. It's under 2-door. The starting price will set you about $1,995,000. However, if you have the LS Car Meet rep, you can get it at about $1,496,000. While the Calico GTF is the most expensive of the 3 cars we're covering, it does sport the highest top speed. It also has the slowest lap time, though not by much. We're talking about fractions of a second here, so it's pretty negligible. You'll find that this car does pretty well in races that contain a lot of straights. As far as upgrades go, you want to max out everything, engine, transmission, turbo in particular. Things of note I want to call out are the suspension. You can get the lowest suspension on this one. That'll help increase its traction. Another thing that'll help increase its cornering grip would be a spoiler mod. Any non-stock spoiler mod will do. Make sure it's not the top option. Slap that on and you'll experience better corner grip. Next up, we have my personal favorite, the Emperor Vectre, with a top speed of 115.25 miles per hour and a lap time of 1 minute and 3.463 seconds. You can buy the Vectre at legendarymotorsports.com. You can get there via your phone, go to 2-door, and the starting price will set you back about $1,785,000. However, if you have high enough LS Car Meet reputation, you can snag it for about $1,338,000. The Vectre is the cheapest and also sports the lowest top speed out of the top 3, but don't let those 2 things fool you. As I mentioned earlier, the Vectre is my favorite, and that's largely due to its cornering ability. It sports the fastest acceleration, so it does have the advantage coming out of turns. As a result, you'll find that the Vectre performs best on maps that don't contain a lot of straightaways. As for upgrades, you can follow the same thing I mentioned with the Calico. Max out on everything, make sure you have a non-stock spoiler, and as far as suspension goes, make sure it's the lowest one. Alright, last but not least, we got the Sultan RS Classic, rocking a top speed of 117.5 miles per hour and a lap time of 1 minute and 3.391 seconds. You can buy the Sultan RS at Southern San Andreas superautos.com under 2-door. It'll set you back about $1,342,000 if you have high enough LS Car Meet rep. If you don't, you'll have to shell out about $1,789,000. Now the Sultan RS does sport the fastest lap time. It has a slightly higher top speed than the Vectre, but worse than the Calico GTF. As far as handling goes, it doesn't do it quite as well as the Vectre, but it still beats out the Calico. So while this car doesn't necessarily have the best top speed or the best handling, it also doesn't have the weaknesses that the other cars have. Case in point, the Vectre for top speed and the Calico for handling, which makes it, a good all-rounder, which is part of why it has the best lap time. Upgrades for the Sultan is a little different than the other cars. You do want to max out the usual stuff like engine, brakes, turbo, but for the suspension, you want to make sure that you do not use the lowest setting. You want to use anything but the lowest setting. Second lowest or middle will do just fine. The reason for that is that the car has been known to perform and handle worse at the lowest suspension, so make sure you avoid that. As for spoilers, same as the other two, make sure you choose a non-stock spoiler. It could be any spoiler as long as it's not the stock one. So to summarize, if you want top speed, go with the Calico GTF. If you prefer handling, go with the Vectre. And if you want something in between those two, you go with the Sultan RS Classic. One final note, if you're going for the podium car, make sure you keep up with the daily prize ride challenges. If you miss a day, then you have to start over from the beginning. The reset is every day at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And that's about it. Those are our top 3 tuner cars. They're rated based off of lap time, but as you can see, the difference is very minuscule. You can't go wrong picking any of these 3, and you should be able to get results with whichever one you decide to go with. Good luck out there, happy racing, and I'll catch ya on the flip side.